Hello, I'm Doug Watches. Welcome to the Locksmith DVD training program. The subject of this course are key machines, key duplication, shimming locks, and the use of space and depth keys. An understanding of these topics is essential for a locksmith. After completing this course, you should be able to list the basic categories of key cutting equipment, list at least 3 major suppliers of key machines, explain how to supply power to a mobile key machine, identify the main parts of a key duplication machine, explain how to use a key duplication machine, explain how to shim a lock. Number 7, explain how to decode a lock. Number 8, explain the function of space and depth keys. Number 9, explain how to use space and depth keys. Number 10, explain how to cut an automotive sidewinder key. This course is divided into 12 parts. Part 1 is key machines and tools. Part 2, key duplication. Part 3 is how to shim a lock. Part 4 is how to decode a lock. Part 5 is using space and depth keys. Part 6 is shimming demonstration using a quickset lock. Part 7 is a shimming demonstration using a Schlage lock. Part 8 is shimming, decoding, and making a key. Part 9 is cutting sidewinder keys. Part 10 is sidewinder space and depth keys. Part 11 is electronic key machines. And Part 12 is review and practice. One of the tools we'll be using in this course is the digital caliper. We're going to use this to measure pins with. You can measure bottom pins, top pins. You can measure depth on a cut of a key. You can do it very quickly and very accurately. These have come down to where you can get these now for under $20, and highly recommend that everyone has one of these tools in their tool set. We're going to be using shim stock to shim locks open. And what shim stock is, it's basically a very, very thin piece of foil that is curved to the approximate same curvature as a plug. And we'll demonstrate how to use this to shim a lock open. Again, that's shim stock. Another tool we're going to be using in this course are space and depth keys. And what space and depth keys are, they're keys that have the same cut all the way down the key. For example, this is a number 8 cut on a Schlage SC1 key blank. And you see they're all the same. If I wanted to cut the number 1 cut on a key to an 8, I could use this in the key machine and make this cut here. I could jump down to the number 4 cut, use this cut here for number 8, and so on. So these are space and depth keys. This, look at a different one. This is a number 2 cut. So they're all number 2 cuts all the way down. And we'll demonstrate this in this course, how to use these keys. We'll also be using our basic tools, screwdrivers, tweezers, plug followers, and so on in the course, tools that we're already familiar with from the earlier courses. Before we actually start cutting any keys, I want to explain a little about the different types of key machines that are available. The most commonly found machine in a locksmith shop is a standard key duplication machine like this SpeedX, which we are going to use in this course. These machines are used to copy keys for customers who have a key and just want more copies of the same key. We will also see that these machines can be used to cut keys by code. The standard duplicator is normally the first machine purchased by a beginning locksmith. There is also a cheaper version of this machine called the SpeedX Mini. A semi-automatic version of this machine called the Power SpeedX is available. It is equipped with a spring-loaded carriage and safety release. This design holds the carriage against the cutter and tracer and cuts the key for you once you have it set up. Before too long, you're going to want to get a code cutting machine. This is an HPC Blitz code cutting machine, and we will see how this is used in the next video, course number 5. Several companies make key machines that are specifically designed to cut tubular keys, or what is often referred to as an ace key. This is an HPC machine that sells for around $800 today. If you have a very busy shop, it would be a good purchase. If you are just starting out, I would consider another HPC option. If you have an HPC Blitz machine, you can get this kit that comes with a key holder, card, cutter blade, and other tools here that will allow you to cut tubular keys. So this is a great way to get into cutting tubular keys without buying another machine. And I strongly recommend that for people that are starting out to help keep your cost as low as possible, but to still be able to offer an additional service of cutting tubular keys. You can get this kit. You can also get a kit for the Blitz machine that will allow you to cut Tibby keys. Tibby keys are a type of high security key that are used on some Jaguars and some Fords. Now these key machine accessories are not real cheap. Both of these accessories probably sell for over $300 each. So what you want to do is try to get the supplier to include those with the key machine when you buy it. Try to get a package deal that includes the accessories both for the Tibby key and for the tubular key. If you plan on doing automotive work, you will need a machine that will cut the laser or sidewinder keys used on many late model cars and trucks. This Elco 057 manual duplicator will cut those types of keys. I will demonstrate this machine later in this course. Today you can purchase a fully computerized key machine that will cut just about any key. This is an HPC Tiger Shark 2. There are a number of companies that make these high-end machines. Today, a fully loaded computerized machine would probably range in price between $6,000 and $9,000. There are several non-electric type of cutters that are available to duplicate keys. One example is this pack-a-punch cutter from A1 Manufacturing that requires no electricity, and you can cut a number of different type of keys, including commercial, residential, and automotive keys. And I'll demonstrate how this works in one of our automotive locksmithing courses. Another very good non-electric key machine is the HPC 1200 punch machine. It operates the same as the 1200 Blitz, except it has a lever to punch cut the keys. Quite a variety of terms are used today to describe keys and key cutting equipment. The basic categories are manual cutters, like the A1 Pack-a-Punch and the HPC 1200 punch machine, standard key machines, semi-automatic key machines, and automatic or computerized key machines. Key machines can also be grouped by types of keys that they cut: standard and traditional or edge cut keys, high security or laser cut keys, and then tubular keys. You should also be aware that key machines come in different voltages. You can get a 12-volt machine, a 120-volt machine, or even a 220-volt machine. Traditional key machine manufacturers include Ilco, HPC, and Freeman. Today there are many others, and I am not recommending one over the others. I usually try to buy quality machines when they are on sale. You can often find the best price at a trade show. Okay, this is a HPC 9160 key duplicator that we're going to work with today. This is inside my working van. This is my workstation that you can see next to the key machine. I have a chair that I keep a bungee cord on when I'm not using it. I have a number of tools on a magnetic board that are handy. I have paper towels, WD-40. The key machine is 120 volt key machine. Now some people use a 12 volt, but for a 120 volt key machine you're going to need a inverter to invert the voltage of your truck to the current that the key machine can use. Now to do that we use an inverter. And I moved a lot of things out of the way so that we can see. This is where my inverter is. This is the back of the inverter. And you can see the cables come from it, and you can see the fan motors on it there. Now, one reason that I keep it back a little bit towards the back of the van, because as you use the key machine, a lot of shavings will fall, and I want to keep those out of the inverter. Having metal fly through it would not be good for it. Okay, this is the front of the inverter, and you can see a couple of cords are plugged into the front of it. One of them goes to the key machine and one goes to the light over the work area. Here you can see a remote control switch I can use to turn the inverter on and off with, and then here is a switch for the light over my work area. Now the cables come down to a deep cycle battery that's in this box back here. Here you can see my battery box, and the box and the battery are secured to the floor of the van so it won't go sliding around or anything. But that's the deep cycle battery, just a regular 12-volt deep cycle battery that's inside that battery box. And you can see the cables that go from the battery to the inverter. And then also there's a cable that goes to the front of the van to charge the battery. And that cable is hooked to a relay at the front of the van. That battery runs the key machine. It also runs the light that you see over the workstation there. Okay, the battery is fed through a cable that goes back up along the van. It actually goes under the van, right in this area up here, and goes up to the front of the van. Okay, at the front of the van, the cable that supplies the battery with power is actually hooked to a solenoid. And so when the van's not running, the key machine and the lights do not draw power from the van, the battery that operates the van. That way I don't need to worry about running down both my batteries and not being able to start my van. But when I start my van, then, and I'm driving down the road, then the battery that runs the key machine will be charged. Here you can see the cables that go from the battery to the front of the van. They're actually going under the floor of the van right here, and they run underneath the van up to the engine compartment. Here you can see where the cables come out on the underside of the van. Okay, here at the front of the truck, I'm going to go ahead and show you this relay that I was talking about. You can see here on this side of the van is the power distribution box. And then on the other side of the van over there, we have the battery that actually operates the van. But here, you can see the relay that I had installed, which when the truck is running, the relay will make a complete circuit and power will feed to the battery in the back of the van so to keep the battery charged. But when the van is turned off, there is not a complete circuit in the relay, and the battery in the back is not drawing power from the battery that operates the van, so there is no danger of draining that battery down and me not being able to start the van. So it's just kind of a little safety measure I had put in place. I had a mechanic hook this relay in for me so as to make sure it was hooked in properly. And I'm sure you could find somebody to do that if you're interested in a system like that. Here you can actually see the red cable where it comes up and attaches to the relay. Okay, I'm going to turn the key on and off now, and you'll hear the relay activated and then deactivated as the key goes back off. Mobile locksmiths normally use either a 12-volt or 120-volt key machine. A 12-volt key machine will normally run straight from the vehicle electrical system. A 120-volt machine requires an inverter. The inverter should be large enough to run both the key machine and lights. Okay, so we're going to go over the basic parts of a key duplicating machine, and you're going to find basically these same parts on most key duplicators. Again, this is the HPC SpeedX. It has the motor, has the belt guard, has the deburring brush, the cutting wheel. This is the key gauge, and I'll show you how to use that in a minute. This piece here is the tracer or the guide. This is the tracer lock nut. Down here we have the tracer depth adjustment, and I will show you how to use that. Then we have the carriage here on the front. On the carriage there's two jaws, often referred to as vices or blocks. But normally the key you want to duplicate will go in the jaw on the left and the blank will go on the right. And so those are the basic parts. The part that the key machine basically is sitting on is called the platform. Now the key machine has to be bolted down. This bottom part is referred to as the platform. You can see a bolt here, and you can buy these pieces of metal that are angled already to pretty much the right angle to support your key machine. These are the wing nuts that you're going to use to tighten down your keys with. You want to tighten them down firmly, but you don't want to over tighten. Just you want to, a good snug fit, but you don't have to overdo it as you tighten down your key blanks and your keys. Okay, on the jaws, there's obviously four sides to this jaw, and you can see here it has an HPC here in this lower right corner here. This is the typical setting for most keys, but if you have a key that's an unusual key and it's difficult to hold in the jaw, you can turn it, and you just loosen your wing nut, pull up on the jaws, and then just twist them around. So they have, again, four different sides, depending on if the key has an unusual cut to the bottom edge of the key as to which way you would set it. So whatever key machine you get, you want to study the manual to see what it says about the jaws and how to turn the jaws. Obviously, you would turn both jaws, not just the one. You want them both set the same normally. You should know the main parts of a key machine: the motor, the bell guard, the deburring brush, the cutter guard, the cutting wheel, the key gauge arm, the tracer depth adjustment screw, the carriage, the jaw, the wing nut, and the platform. Now before we start cutting a key, I want to show you how to check to make sure that the key is in adjustment. And you can read your manual, and your manual will give directions for doing this, but one simple way to do it is to simply put two key blanks into the jaws of the machine, and then if we bring this up against the guide, the cutting wheel should just barely make a tiny mark on the edge of the key blank, and we'll see if this machine will do that. So if you heard that, it did make just a tiny cut there. It's going to be hard to see this on the video, but what I actually like to see is just a tiny cut on just one corner of the key blank. And if it just starts to cut the key, like by making that just a small cut on one corner, then I know the machine is set properly. Now, of course, as I mentioned, you should also check the manual for your key machine and see what the manufacturer advises as far as adjusting your key machine. If we did need to adjust it, the way we would do that, we would loosen the lock bolt on the tracer, and then we would turn the depth adjustment to move the tracer either in and out. If you move it in, you're going to make the cut deeper. If you move it out, it's going to be more shallow. Now, notice about this key gauge that if we move the carriage so that it lines up right on the left side, right here, of this left jaw, that it is also lined up even with the right jaw. So the jaws are spaced out the same as the key gauge. So if we have a key that has a shoulder on the bottom of the key, like most of your residential and many of your commercial keys, this is the SC1 key here, we can simply put the key in and then push it up against the block, and that bottom shoulder will stop the key in the correct position. Then we can take a blank and do the same thing on the other jaw. Just push it up. And then if you were to check that by bringing down your key gauge, you would see that it's even both. Here on the left jaw, the top shoulder's right up against the key gauge, and then the shoulders up against the key gauge in the right jaw. So that you don't need to use the key gauge if you have a bottom shoulder like that. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do an SC1 key, and I'm going to just pretend like it doesn't have a bottom shoulder, and we'll use the key gauge to put the key in the jaws using the key gauge. Okay, now to duplicate a key, again, you put your original key in the block on the left, and just go ahead and just kind of tighten that up a little bit so that it holds it there. Okay, so it'll stay in there, but I can still move it. Notice that. Okay, so I'm going to bring down my key gauge, and I'm going to align the key gauge here with the shoulder of the key. So I have my key down in there. Now the key's down flat. What I mean by flat, okay, it's not up. The bow end of the key is not up. The tip end of the key is not up. The key is down flat against the jaw. So you want to make sure that's down flat. Then you want to go ahead and again, go ahead and adjust it so that it's the shoulder of the key is against the key gauge. Then we can take our key blank and put it in the other jaw. And we'll put it in so that, again, it's down flat. We want it down flat. We want the shoulder right here lined up against the key gauge. Now when you get ready to cut, you want to make sure that your key gauge is flipped up out of the way. You want to make sure that both your original key and your key blank are in the jaws very snugly. Again, you don't have to over tighten, but they should be in there really pretty firm. They're not going to be moving around. So check that before you start cutting. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and cut this key, and I'm going to turn the machine on, and I'll just bring up the key again, and I'll make about 3 passes to cut this key, and then we'll deburr it. Okay, so I'll go one more time just to make sure I got it cut good. Okay, so I turn the machine off, I take my newly cut key out, and then I'm going to deburr it on the deburring brush. And you don't really want to, be careful with the deburring brush. I suppose that it probably could cut you if you press your finger up in there, or it could get your finger stuck up in with the guard or whatever. So you want to be cautious of it, but the deburring brush will not normally cut you. HPC actually refers to this brush as a softy, and they've actually trademarked that name for their brush. They call it the HPC Softy Deburring Brush. You can see that I can touch the deburring brush. Then we're going to just go ahead and do our key on both sides. If it were a double-sided key, you could turn it over and do the other side, but this is just a single-sided key. So we're going to do both edges on that, and it's good to go. So there you can see that's how easy it is to make a key. Okay, I'm going to reset the camera to try to get a closer view so you can see the key actually touching against the tracer and the cutting wheel, the blank against the cutting wheel on this side, and we're going to do that again. So again, I'm going to probably normally make 3 passes on the key. So come up against the tracer. make one more pass. Now, many keys, especially automotive keys, are stopped by the tip. And an easy way to place those keys is to simply get the key kind of in the jaw, go ahead and start to snug it up a little bit. And then you can just use a key blank to align it with the side of the jaw, so that you put the key blank up there as a stop and push that up against it and then tighten it down and do the same thing on the other jaw. And that's a way to align the keys, again, using the blocks if you have a tip stop key. Okay, now something else you're going to discover is that I told you to put all the keys down flat against the bottom of the jaw, but some keys actually, especially automotive keys, work better if we just grab this bottom part of the key, and so that this first ridge basically aligns the key with the jaw. So, for example, here with this Ford H75 key blank, if I put it down in the all the way to the bottom there, it's not going to tighten well. It's going to tend to want to turn that key, because it's going to grab this little ridge right here on the key and try to turn it. But what we can do is we can just let that ridge rest on the top of the jaw. So put it down like that, go ahead and start to snug it up. And again, now this is a tip stop key, so once you got it about tight enough, go ahead and take a key, put it on the block, make sure that's pushed up all the way. So it's pushed up all the way to the stop here that I'm using, and it's down here with this ridge flat against the top of the block, and then I tighten that up. And again, at that point now I want to tighten that good. And now again, whatever key machine you get, read what the manual says and see if they recommend a specific side of the block for automotive keys or for tip stop keys. So just to review the steps for duplicating a key, we have to determine which side of the jaw to use, insert the original key into the left jaw, flip the gauge arm down, adjust the key to the gauge, make sure the key is flat in the jaw, insert the correct key blank into the right jaw, use the key gauge to set the blank, make sure the blank is flat in the jaw, flip up the key gauge, and turn on the machine. Bring the carriage up to engage the tracer and cutting wheel. To cut, move the carriage from right to left, cutting from bow to tip. Turn the machine off and remove the key, and then deburr the key. Please take just a moment to like the video and also subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.